empire without end. Those words were written by Rome's greatest poet, Publius Virgilius Maro, known to us as Virgil. His monumental epic, the Aeneid, was written to invoke a mythic foundations of Rome and to trace a divine lineage from Aeneas to Augustus. Hello and welcome. My name is Artemis Ward. My research focuses on the ending of Book 12 of the Aeneid, particularly the epic's ending, the battle between Aeneas and Turnus. My research also focuses on the language used by Virgil, the intentionality of the choice in words that he used. My research topic is anti-Augustan or pro-Augustan, an inquiry into the language of the Aeneid's ending. Some scholars have argued that the ending of the Aeneid, Virgil was being critical of Augustus, anti-Augustan, while other scholars argue that Virgil was not in fact being critical of Augustan, pro-Augustan, but rather he gives legitimization to his rule. In this research, I argue that Virgil was not criticizing Augustus, but approving of him, and that the death of Turnus was justified. Again, the focal point has been the anger of Aeneas in the final lines. So, here's the Latin for all the Latin nerds out there. Enjoy it. So here's the focal point again in Book 12, lines 946 to 952. Now, it is important to note the definition of these words. First, I'll say them in Latin. Furias ascensus, ira, terribles, fervidus. Now, as you can see, furious means frenzy, fury, rage. And it also derives from the Furies, the avenging spirits. Ascensus, set on fire, light, kindling. Ira, anger, wrath, rage. Terribles, frightening, terrible, used as an adjective. And fervidus, boiling hot, fiery, roused, hot-blooded, and seething. So, in order to understand the ending, we need to go back to certain key passages in the Aeneid. Virgil begins to paint a parallel between these two men. In Book 10, we see that Turnus seeks out Pallas intentionally. Book 10, lines 442 to 443. And Turnus says, "Only I am carried against Pallas. Only to me Pallas is owed. I wish the parent himself were here as a spectator." Take note then that Turnus says he wishes Evander, the father of Pallas, to be there to see him fight his son. And also, this fight is uneven. One is seasoned, Turnus. The other young man is still learning, Pallas. Furthermore, Turnus mistreats the body of Pallas by placing his foot on his body and taking the belt as the spoil of war. While Aeneas has a similar encounter with a young man, here Virgil shows us the difference. Again, in Book 10, Aeneas is in battle with Mezentius, who is a seasoned warrior like Aeneas. This is an even match. In the battle, Aeneas begins to best Mezentius, and his son Lausus comes to his father's aid. He then engages Aeneas in battle. And here is the stark difference between Turnus and Aeneas. Aeneas admonishes Lausus and tries to get him to back down, for he does not wish to fight him. And he states in Book 10, lines 810 to 812, and he rebukes Lausus and threatens Lausus. "Where do you rush to about to die and dare things greater than your strength? Your devotion deceives you, incautious as you are." This is important to note, that Aeneas did not wish to engage in battle with him, for he rightly knew and understood that this was an uneven match. So once again, Virgil shows us the characters of each man. One pious, not following his own will but the will of the gods. And the other as violent, aggressive, and impulsive. And again, as you can see here, Turnus places his foot on the body of Pallas, takes the belt. Hence we see Aeneas rightly angry, holding the belt, for he sees what he has done. And Virgil makes this very clear. But if there be any doubt, Virgil makes this very clear how he feels about Turnus' action. Again, in Book 10, lines 503 and 504. For Turnus there will be a time when he will wish Pallas bought unharmed for a great price, and when he will hate those spoils in that day. From this act, Virgil gives an indication, a foreshadowing, if you will, of Turnus' fate. There is another important note on vocabulary used by Virgil. The word here is violentia. Now, this word is used by Virgil only for Turnus. The use of this word is to describe Turnus' character, violentia, which means violence, aggressiveness. While for Aeneas, Virgil uses pietas, which means piety, dutifulness. Virgil uses this word to describe the character of Aeneas. Another important aspect here is found in Book 6, lines 851 to 853. As for you, Roman, be mindful to rule the peoples with your power. These will be your arts, both to impose the custom of peace, to spare the subjected, and to battle down the proud. The last line, 853, is particularly important. Who is the proud? Virgil makes this clear that the proud here is Turnus. He cannot be trusted. He violated the treaty, which again Virgil uses to show the character of Turnus. And another important one is the word pius, Book 12, line 311. Pius here means pious. This is where we get our word pious, dutiful, loyal, devout. This section in Book 12, which starts in lines 311 to 317, again shows that Aeneas was keeping the treaty, which was a duel between himself and Turnus. Again, the emphasis that Virgil makes is that Turnus breaks the treaty. Hence, Virgil also shows that his death was brought upon by his own actions. And furthermore, in breaking the treaty, Turnus had also forfeited his life to begin with. So, final point in Book 12, line 943, Virgil uses a particular word to describe Pallas. The word is pueri, which means boy. This he uses to remind his readers one final time that Pallas was young, just beginning in life. The use of this word by Virgil is intentional. Again, to show the character of Turnus, and to emphasize that Aeneas' killing of Turnus is justified. And although the death of Turnus has been viewed as somber, Virgil makes it clear that Turnus was destined to die for his killing of Pallas and taking the spoils of war, the belt of Pallas. Thus, in taking these passages into consideration, the ending of Aeneid becomes clear. With the understanding of these key passages and the meaning of the words that Virgil uses, he makes it clear then that Aeneas was destined to found Rome and that Turnus was destined to die. And as a final note on ancient morality, as the esteemed late scholar Karl Galinsky said, the Roman reader would have not been concerned about his capital punishment in the final scene of the Aeneid, meaning that the Romans would have understood that the death of Turnus was a natural consequence of Turnus' own actions. Thank you. If there aren't any questions. Yes. Oh.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
So, first of all, really interesting. histories, and you have a very charismatic way of speaking,
Oh,
so that was awesome.
thank you.
Secondly, I was just curious, what made you want to do focus on this sort of on this topic?
Well, I remember taking a class where we had to read the Aeneid, and this ending, a professor asked, what do you guys think about this ending? A lot of them were jarred by it, because up to this, before this, Aeneas is really calm and collective, and Turnus is just all over the place. But to me, it made sense. Turnus violated the treaty, and the treaty was, again, a duel. So he forfeited his life, because he ran off initially. He did not wish to face Aeneas, so that's why and also I love anything Rome, so it inspired me.
So I have a few. Could you go back to one of the slides that had kind of a translated line for?
Oh, yes. Oh, wait, this one?
Just any of them. I believe you used John Dryden's translation, is that right?
Yes.
Is there a reason why you chose John Dryden's translation as opposed to like maybe like Lombardo or
Yes, well, Lombardo, my personal opinion and also of my mentor, is that Lombardo it seems to have kind of dumbed everything down, make it very simplified. Well, John Dryden is more of a heavy text. It's almost like Old English, but I quite enjoy it because there's heaviness in it. But there's a project I'd like to do to compare many translations to see how the word deviates, because I think it's important when you're studying a language to try to really get the true meaning. In case with Virgil, what was he saying? What was he really saying? You have to get in there and try to do a more, I favor more literal translation, if that makes sense.
I also just wanted to ask, I had like two more questions, but I wanted to ask really quickly, for your kind of definitions of the Latin words like violentia or pietas. Did you draw on any like specific dictionaries when you were compiling those?
Yeah, I drew on a translation, but also dictionaries would be the Oxford Latin Dictionary, and also my mentor, because he really described violentia to me in this way. So yeah, that's where I drew.
And then my last question was just kind of like, based on your study of other translations, have you kind of noticed that any of them specifically choose words that might lean more anti-Augustan or pro-Augustan?
Oh yes, I have seen that, particularly with the ending. It seems that they painted as that Turnus should have been allowed to live. Like they almost paint Aeneas as just absolutely angry, and why is he not letting this guy live, even though Virgil just told us the guy violated the treaty. So I have seen that. So this is why wording and accurate translation is important.
I have like a general knowledge of Latin and some ancient Roman history, but if you could refresh my memory or explain a little bit what like anti-Augustan, pro-Augustan means and how it relates to the
Oh
ending.
yes, wonderful. So within the scholarship, that's just a labeling to have. The anti-Augustan would say that Virgil was criticizing Augustus with this particular ending, because they actually say that the anger of Aeneas was not justified. So this is why they end up falling under anti-Augustan, saying that Virgil himself was criticizing, so they will fall under that umbrella. Well, pro-Augustan is all the scholars who say, no, Virgil was not criticizing Augustus because of the same vocabulary. They will both argue over the same vocabulary, but they focus more on anger, because in ancient morality, if you did not have anger, so imagine him killing Aeneas with no anger. To the ancient scholars and ancient readers, this would have been absolutely unnatural, because anger, like for example, Cicero says that if someone takes the spoil of war, yeah, you need to kill that guy. That's not right. So for Cicero, it would have been would have made sense. Now Cicero obviously was not around by this point. He was executed for speaking up against Marcus Antonius. I hope that answered.
I guess I was just trying to see what
Yeah.
perspective or
Yeah, like some of them, like I said, they'll just say anti-Augustan because they're saying that the Aeneid criticizing Augustus, or it was criticizing it. Well, pro-Augustus was saying, no, he is not criticizing Augustus. Yeah.
Who's Augustus?
The first emperor of Rome, adopted son of Gaius Caesar. There's no more questions. Let me see.
I have one.
Oh, indeed.
What relationship does this myth have to the Romulus and Remus story? What's the wisdom?
Oh my gosh, that's so wonderful. So, the wonderful historian Livy touches up on these, saying that Aeneas actually, if you go backwards in time, he will be related to Romulus. So they are connected, which is very weird, because as you're reading, Livy will tell you Romulus and Remus. But then what Virgil wanted to do was, the Greeks had Homer, they had the Odyssey, they had Iliad, they have mystic foundation. I will give Rome something worthy of it. So this is a way that he was connecting Augustus to the legendary founder Aeneas. But again, if you go backwards in time, Aeneas would be connected to Romulus. So Virgil is also connecting, Romulus is the founder of Rome. But in this way, Virgil was saying now the new founder of Rome is Augustus. So that's how he was connecting all that together. There's no more questions.